Welcome to the Not Null Podcast. I'm just an AI voice. But here are your real hosts, Kevin Doyle, Paul Bratzlovsky, and Bobby Davis.
Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Not Null Podcast, the tech podcast where we discuss everything from AI breakthroughs to VR's new realities. I'm Kevin Doyle, and this week I am joined by Paul Bratzlovsky and Bobby Davis. Coming up in this episode, are DJI drones soon to be banned in the US? The Rabbit R1 was released, and the reviews aren't looking too good. And age verification with AI at the checkout. And we'll wrap up with our null, not null recommendations section. Okay, first story of the week, a callback to last week. Remember last week we talked about TikTok and the US banning TikTok? Well, they're looking to ban something else too. That would be DJI drones. And seems to be an issue. Something called the Countering CCP Drones Act, which was first introduced in February 2022. Keep that date in mind here for a second. You'll like this bit, Paul. It was passed unanimously by a committee, the House Energy and Commerce Committee, which I don't know if it matters from a political side of things, but they're all Republicans on that committee. Don't know why, but that's just how committees work, right? It's so split these days. This bill could go to a floor vote in the House of Representatives next, and then move over, just like this TikTok bill did. It go to Senate, President, and it could pass as a law. So, but we're at an earlier stage for this one yet. So, a couple of quotes from the politicians that were involved in this. One of them is that the quote is that the reasoning behind this: DJI presents an unacceptable security risk. And another one says that the US wants to foster a competitive drone industry. Those two statements tell me everything I need to know about this. DJI was previously placed on a trade blacklist back in 2020. Remember the Huawei thing? Basically, there's this list of like companies who the US doesn't allow to be on their communications infrastructure, right? Huawei was one of them. So they were added to this list back in 2020, but this would go even further. This would basically prohibit sales in the US, and they'd be prohibited from operating on US communications infrastructure. That means they couldn't connect to the way that they connect now through satellites or Wi-Fi or whatever it is. That just wouldn't work anymore. They are saying, though, that potentially existing hardware could possibly continue to function. So if you already have a DJI drone, like I do, apparently it might still work. So, Bobby, what do you think? Slippery slope here with these?
So here's the thing. They need to prove to us what the security risk is at this point. Here's my reason. I know that there's Republicans on this thing, and so I'll get a little bit political, but I do believe that the U.S. government in general this is a war that we're having with China over certain things. But when we pass bills like this, they just have to prove with the TikTok bill specifically that it's foreign controlled or foreign influenced. And I think that gives the government too much power to just shut down a product or whatever it is. And I don't like this unless there is a thing where they're saying, like, if you put this on your Wi-Fi router, it is getting into your Wi-Fi and it's like translating information. Does the GPS information where the drone come out matter? Then what they could do is saying, if that matters and you don't want someone else to know where the drone's been, then that should be part of the spec to have a drone in the U.S. The FCC should say, this is what a drone can and cannot do, this is what it can and cannot do in the FCC, and then they have to get them approved and regulated. But they just can't decide which company that can or cannot do business, because it means that there's undue influence over there where there's someone else that wants to be in the drone market, and they're saying, put DJI out of business.
Yep.
Here's like my take on this, because I wonder if they're taking it out of the China playbook, where a lot of times when we create something, they'll go ahead and reverse engineer it and create a whole market where they sell to their folks like the stuff. And so now they're like, listen, TikTok's making this much money. Let's get rid of TikTok and we'll have our own version of TikTok. Maybe it's, again, Instagram or whatever it is, or YouTube Shorts, or a whole new thing which captures the whole market. Same thing here. They're like, DJI drones, like, because I'm sure there's many companies. DJI drones just happens to be the most successsul one. And so
it is by far the most successful one.
Right. Exactly. And so they're like, you know what? We kind of know how to build them. We, could build them in the likeness of DJI. Let's just get rid of the competition and build our own.
100%. I think to both of your points, literally the quotes that I gave you, one of them was competitive drone industry. Right. They're literally telling us that's what they want to do. And the other one was, to Bobby's point, that they're saying that the one quote was DJI presents an unacceptable security risk. I think that is absolute BS. And I'll tell you why. This has been a bill in progress since 2022. So 2 years has been like, it's an unacceptable risk, but it's okay. And they're also saying, if you already have one, that's okay too.
It's fine, you can keep it.
It's crap. It's nothing to do with a security risk at all. It's the competitive thing. That's exactly, and it's a reason for doing
what they should do is just put a tariff on them in a trade bill, and then to go negotiate with China about what the tariffs are for a DJI import, just like we do with cars and everything else. And it would be very expensive when it got over here. Add 20%, 25% on if that's what you want to do. You don't like China. You don't want to make money. Then get 25% off the top of it, and then instead of it being,
because we would still buy them right now, because
probably it's the best drone
because
out there
competitively there's nobody here right now that can compete.
Right. At the price point. I guess other people can make them. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe they do have I'm not a drone manufacturer, so I don't know. But they do seem to be pretty easy to fly, though.
Let me ask this other question. I mean, let's say we say, okay, no more DJI drones. When they say we're going to build our own drones, where are they going to source the parts from? Is it going to be still China built components that just happen to be assembled? And so to me, it's like hypocritical in the sense that it's like, I'm thinking like they're just trying to put pressure on China by saying like, hey, we could tell you what services you can and cannot have, almost like this unofficial trade war. But, and they just want to, through legalities or the process, be like, oh, because of security, we're going to just ban you over time, just so we could replace the product with our own offering.
Yeah, with Huawei, those things were network edge devices, and that was actually came out and said what they were doing. So that was like, those things need to be banned. It was more
convincing. It was more convincing of an argument, wasn't it? Yeah, this one's just like, there's
I'm not sure how a drone would talk back to China, and then what would it talk back with? I guess it could take pictures.
Sure.
But do you care if the real estate or the roofing guy is like, you got a bunch of roof pictures, pictures.
Here's Google Maps does have all the pictures, but I guess if you have, there are enough drones in the US to probably have seen a massive amount of the US, right? They really are. But here's what I would say too. The DJI drone is the most locked down app I've ever used. Like, if you are within a certain distance of an airport, you literally cannot fly it. It's not an option. You can't take off. You can't fly above 10 feet. Because it's GPS locked, right? It's on GPS through your phone. It requires it to fly above 10 feet. You have to be outside of an airport area. Same way with security installations, with Washington, D.C., with any military bases, anything like that. You cannot fly over with a DJI drone. They do that themselves too. So it's not like they're collecting secret troop movement information in the US or something, because they've literally blocked themselves out of that already. You can't do it. It to me just screams the security thing is just an excuse. There is no security issue here, because if it was, what am I going to do? Like, the feds are going to show up one day and take my drone off me. They're going to knock on my door when I don't turn it in. Is that what's going to happen here? If it was a real security issue, that's what would happen.
That's what I'm worried about, that they'll do that.
But here's the crazy thing.
Too much power.
The crazy part about this is that it's only because it's a company that is huge. Because I would argue that the robot dog with the flamethrower is also a security risk, but it's not of a big enough business to go after and be like, oh, it's, but that's an actual security risk. Like, I could see some neighbors being barbecued by accident or on purpose with their robot dog that you could purchase now on the website for $9,000. Highly recommend. But so to me, I have a hard time understanding. They need, to Bobby's point, they need to show us the reason and tell us why.
And then if you know it, what I've always said about the TikTok app, shut it down, man. If you can know it.
Again, I'm not buying it.
Android, Google knows, and they know if that app is doing whatever they think it's doing.
It's not. I'm not buying that it is. I'm still not buying that it is.
No.
It's same reason there as here, because they're not shutting it down. They're giving him a year to basically sell it off.
They're not.
They're not shutting it down. It's not a security risk. There is some other reasoning behind that, and it's got nothing to do with security or China.
Yeah, and they're saying they're going to sell it to a non-technical partner, and they won't get the algorithm, which is greatly reduces the value of it, in my opinion. Why would Disney or Walmart buy TikTok and it doesn't know how to recommend videos? It's just kind of dumb. People will
unless they're using TikTok to gather as much face information about you that they can, which goes into the targeting system powered by Skynet. And then the final part is, now that they collected all this data and facial information from TikTok, these DJI drones now know everything about you. And once they press the button that you know exists, it's going to flip all the drones. They're going to transform in those things from Terminator 2 movie. I don't know, like those Alpha, whatever, the thing.
Hunter killers, HKs.
Yeah, exactly. And just wreak like havoc on like everybody here. And the only way we could stop him is obviously by banning TikTok and the drones.
That's the plot for Captain America: Winter Soldier. Where they had
right.
Yeah, we're gonna get a drone swarm of DJI drones. So
yeah, silly.
Iran's drone swarm works so well, against Israel. So like, that's one thing I learned, is that I guess finding 300 low cost drones against a prominent military is not a good idea. It doesn't work well.
I was gonna say, this is definitely conspiracy theory, and don't quote me on this, but maybe because they've seen the success of drone technology being used in war, that they're like, wait a second, everybody has one, and maybe we should protect our own selves from these drone which that's definitely not true. That's definitely a conspiracy theory. But I'm trying to figure out what is the way to spin this. Like, you know what I mean? It's like,
it's all to do with competition. That's my take on it. It's all to do with like, they need an American 100%. Company to make a drone to sell a bunch of money, not be a Chinese company, and that's it. Yeah, it's that simple.
That is insane.
And I laugh at it because, like, you think about it. Let's say that they could take over Kevin's Maverick, whatever you have. It's in its case in the upstairs. Even if it could turn it on, it doesn't
even have a battery in it.
It doesn't have a battery in it. It's going to fly at the best case scenario, in your living room or somewhere, and
right.
It's plastic. Yeah. It may cut you, but it's not.
I mean, it would hurt if it hits you,
but it's not going to kill you.
Probably not. No.
And then that's it. It's over. So like, even if there's 1 million of these, they would be defeated quickly. So I just don't see what the security risk is. They're plastic.
Again, it's one of these things. I guarantee you, they'll end up saying it's the same thing. Like, we in politics we in the House have seen what's wrong. You guys haven't, like they did with TikTok. Well, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to tell us exactly why, because your reasoning, which I don't think actually really exists, would be dumb, and we'd be like, that's stupid, right? we don't actually believe that just because you do.
Put it this way, I could defeat a DJI drone at my house with the pillows on my couch.
Right. I think it's more about the data that it collects, is my guess.
The data, it's
But again, DJI have done a pretty good job of what data it does actually collect in terms of like GPS and video and those kind of things. You can't fly within a certain
But every device collects data and somebody sees it. Like,
but again, it's going to China, just like TikTok. It's going to China, not staying in the US.
But again, there's like, you have TikTok, you have DJI, they're huge, but I'm sure there's so many like smaller companies that are doing the same thing. Like, are they also not the same limited like risk to security, and that they should
of course they are
banned, but it's like they're not making enough money for it. Like, I don't know. Like, it's weird. It's weird.
So another week and another AI piece of hardware. This week it's the turn of the Rabbit R1. We're in the I'm going to call this the why isn't this just an app $199 AI powered Rabbit R1 that released this week. Reviews have not been kind to this. MKBHD, while didn't give it the worst product ever, his video was titled Rabbit R1 barely reviewable. Great title. So apparently, while it wasn't as bad as the Humane AI pin, he also didn't give it a glowing review. He basically, in summary, kind of said it was a half-finished product, slow, just like the Humane AI pin is, and for some strange reason also has a terrible battery life. A couple of days, actually, was it 2 days? I think it was 1 or 2 days after it came out, somebody was able to get the APK off it, so the file, and actually run it on a Pixel phone. So turns out, Paul, what we've said all along is this should have been an app.
Yeah.
It literally is an app. It's an app that's running on a piece of custom hardware. The CEO of the company, though, did come out after somebody showed this video of this running on this phone. And it's like, yeah, look, here you go. You can scroll through and do everything with it. They're basically saying that he says, well, it's not really. It's tied into the hardware, and while it's an APK, and yes, it runs on Android and it's an Android app, you can't access their cloud endpoints, and there's some other stuff that's like obviously hardware based for encryption and maybe those kind of things. But we know essentially this is just an app. So these aren't getting glowing reviews at the minute. These AI hardware devices that have been coming out the last couple of weeks. So Paul, what do you think? Are these devices looking for a problem? Do they solve anything?
They're not solving anything that a phone can't do. And here's the thing: when this first thing came out, we were skeptical about it for being what it is, because exactly for the reasons that we mentioned before. And then I watched the talk about from the founder of the company, and he talked about it as it's an OS. And so I'm like, oh, if it's just an OS, it almost doesn't matter what device it's on, and maybe they just want it for marketing purposes to have a device. But I think outside of that, it could just be a phone app, and they probably would have been more successful if they released it as an app on the phone that anybody could use, and it just does the thing that they said that it do.
But you can't charge $199 for an app. That's the issue, isn't it?
Right, exactly.
You can charge $10 for an app, or maybe some kind of subscription.
And I think what people are doing is they're trying to figure out ways to hide that they're basically doing what everybody else is doing it, and they're trying to repackage it. Look at this whatever dog doo-doo shaped like an apple that you could use. It's it's an apple. Look at you. It's but yeah. It's not. It's and everybody, I think people just, here's my thought. I think there's so much hype there. Just like any hype cycle, there's people that are going to take advantage of the hype and make as much money as possible. And once the hype dies down, they're like, oh, look, it didn't work out, but people already made their money. They already did their thing. Somebody won, somebody lost, and I think that's what they're doing. They know the hype is not going to last forever. And at some point, all this AI stuff is going to level out, and we're going to have much clearer thing. Hey, this is where we're at. And you're not going to be able to create a device a week and mark it up and sell it for crazy service. One of the trends I noticed, because I use some AI tools, they have a monthly plan, and then they have this but you could buy a lifetime plan, and it's for the lifetime of this app. And I'm and it's pretty good deal. I'm $250. Wow. For life, forever. And then I realized, why would they do that? Because there's a potential. They know that their product is going to fail, and they want to collect the money up front, because the cost of running AI, it's not cheap. It's expensive.
This thing doesn't have a monthly subscription. This device does not have a subscription.
They're not gonna last. Yeah, they're done.
I don't think you can raise money on an app, but you can raise money on a piece of hardware. And I think that's really what it is. These guys know that, and so they put a piece of hardware around it, and you can raise money on that. But if you're saying I'm building an Android app, they're like, well, just put it in the store. We're not going to give you $100 million. What you need it for?
True.
My AI coffee cup. That's going to be my next idea.
Well, it probably sell.
But I am actually tempted to buy one of these, because I think it's going to be one of those things that doesn't sell very many and becomes a massive tech collector's item.
Oh, 100%.
25 years in the future, you can be like, man, I've got a Rabbit Eye 1 still in the box. Yeah. You can be like, man, that's worth a fortune.
Yeah, no, 100%. I would buy that for the same reason, just because 100% is going to be one of those cool collectibles.
I think the AI human pen will probably be more collectible than this.
That's just
but that's a $700 investment. This is $200.
But it's more. It's gonna flame harder than this one. This I don't think just so. Go away.
It's so cringe.
I don't know.
It's not going to do well. This, at least this device compared to the pin, aesthetically pleasing. You could have it on your table and it look cool. It doesn't.
I agree. This would look good on my shelf back here.
Right.
This is designed by a legitimate technology company. What are they? Teenage Engineering made this thing.
Yeah.
It's very specifically designed. I mean, not very well for its use case for sure, but it's definitely intentional. Its wheel and its button and whatever. You see some of the reviews. It's not very usable, but it's different than other things.
The thing that's weird about this is MKBHD is now, they said he's the most powerful. I read this morning, the most powerful man in tech now, because his his reviews are killing these projects single-handedly. And I'm like, no, they're not.
No,
This thing doesn't do anything.
It's the product.
He has the same opinion as everyone else. He just has a big reach. That's
all it is.
He's not saying anything that anybody else isn't saying. He just has 15 million viewers. That's all.
And the product is not dying because of him. The product is dying because it's a bad product. Like, because if it was really good, he could make a bad review. When people try it for themselves, we're like, oh, it's actually the product's actually good. So like it's terrible to get bad press, but it's dying because it's a terrible product, not because of what he said.
Yep.
But
can you imagine this thing? Like the number one complaint a lot of people had was battery life. That should be the last thing that this thing has a complaint about. It should literally be. That should be like it should. You should feel like this lasts forever. This should be Kindle good battery life.
Oh my god!
It does one thing and it's in this tiny little box. Like it lasts like people were saying like 4 hours. Like even without usage sometimes.
I guess the battery's really small.
I'm gonna make an AI powered Kindle. Holy slap! I'm gonna make $1 billion. You know what? That's
I just don't think there's a good AI piece of hardware at this point. And I think to Paul's point, it's just a cash in.
Yeah,
it's just a way for somebody to kind of grift us into buying something else that we don't need.
They're just slapping ChatGPT on top of stuff.
So, right.
Using the API.
There's so many companies that created businesses around using like literally ChatGPT or existing models. And the ones that created a product that I, as a developer, could replicate on the weekend, they're going to go out of business because there's no enough differentiation that helps you. And so like the companies I think they're going to last that are going to take the current technologies that exist, if it's Claude, ChatGPT, and giving memory, creating agents, like the ones that could do it in a way where it actually solves like a business problem that is not replicatable easily by any one individual, like they're going to stay in business. But yeah, I think a lot of people right now just like trying to money grab. Like back in the day when I had a friend who did a lot of like startup stuff, and he told me of a time where you could just mention the word startup and people gave you money. And right, I think with AI, that's what's happening. It's like, and if you think about it, like we might suffer as like consumers, but if you are an angel investor, you invested in 60 companies, 58 of them, let's say, failed, and the 2 that made it, you still made your money.
Yeah, you only need one Uber.
Right. Yeah, right. And so like people are looking for those big whales. And so like we are going to get flooded by garbage that's not going to last. And then there's going to be a few companies that will. And that's going to be like, hey, these are the companies,
Yeah. And I don't think this is it.
Yeah.
I don't think we see another rabbit device that's going to take over the world. I think they had their one shot. They'll collect their money.
I think meme generator is the best thing for generative text. I think that's the best use case for this whole generative text.
And this doesn't even have one of those.
Yeah.
It should make memes. That's what it should do. Take a picture, make a meme.
So our final story this week, let's talk about grocery shopping, and in particular, age verification at checkout. There is a company based out of Ohio, which I'm just gonna give you the name of this. The company, because I was like, what are these? This just looks like words to me, and it's strung together. It was Diebold Nixdorf's Dynamic Smart Vision Age Verification System. I'm like, jeez, man, that's a mouthful right there. But Diebold Nixdorf is the company. Apparently, they're based out of Ohio, which is interesting. But they're putting this into place in a retail chain in Germany, the Edeka group, I guess. They're putting into test in Stuttgart Airport. So basically what this does, it's AI-powered age verification technology. It checks for misscanned and unscanned items as well. But basically, there's an algorithm that estimates the age of the customer within 2.5 years. And then those estimated to be over the age of 27 are basically just allowed to purchase the items. So if you're buying alcohol, basically, is what it's going to be used for. So if you're above the age of 27, you purchase the thing. If you're under 27, it still asks for ID.
Oh, that's the point. That's what I
exactly. Paul, let me ask you, what is the point?
I have no idea what's the point. At first I was going to say, so if I'm like 17 and a half, it could overestimate and make a mistake that I'm 21. But if it asks for the ID regardless, like that's the use, like you're wasting technological resources to do something stupid.
This is a problem that is already solved. It's solved because you can show it your ID if you needed to.
So here's the
and
thing.
it could verify exactly your
Right.
age, not approximation within 2.5 years.
It's the dumbest use case ever, because I went to buy NyQuil the other day. I had no idea you had to present an ID to buy NyQuil.
Really? You do?
Yeah. So like, which is funny, because there's this other sleep aid I used to sometimes, like, you don't need an ID. I'm like, that's like the same thing. It's the same problem. But anyway, like, the point is, like, as soon as you scan an item that requires ID, like, it'll prompt you for an ID. You know, it's like, and so here's the thing. Here's another question. Like, even if the AI assumes like that you're older, I'm sure kids are going to figure out how to trick it. I'm 100% sure. Like,
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
Like, you can show up in old man makeup.
Right.
You know?
And then, like, why if my face is covered and like whatever. So
yeah.
So then you'll still need humans to like be like, hey, you know, you need to.
What they should have done here was just have the AI ask to look at your ID, and then it can read what's on the ID and say whether you're old enough or not. It's literally a problem that's already solved.
You're making
I don't know what we're doing.
Kevin. You're making
so Diebold sells like these touch screens. Pretty much, if you've been in a grocery store or any kind of convenience store that has self checkout, they're selling these devices. They also sell like the ATMs machines. Most of the ATMs in the banking industry are run by Diebold.
Yep.
And so they're just putting another widget on top of this thing that gives you a reason to buy theirs over someone else's. But I don't think it's going to really work that well. Can you check out? And I've never tried this, and I think you could go try it. If you go to a self checkout and see currently, can you buy alcohol at a self checkout? I don't buy alcohol, but I don't think you can. And that's
you can't. Somebody comes over and has to verify your age.
Verified your ID. Yeah.
But the problem is Walmart's rolling back self check. They're not going to have it anymore because
so is Target.
Theft.
So
and so like I think they're kind of late to this game. Like it's just it's going back to like they need people checking them out anyway.
I know what's happening here. It's just a different demographic. And that's why I didn't see it right away. The same reason we have Rabbit device to convince fools to part with their money. This is a way for a business to convince supermarkets to part with we created an extra service, even though we're not really solving anything, because at the end of the day, you're still going to have to check the IDs. But for extra AI, because we put it in there, and that's what it is people just jumping on this hype like
check out now with AI. You're right.
And we need you to upgrade the panel to get it.
I think everybody's trying to stick AI into everything, and I love building AI tools, but I'm trying to build things that actually solve like a problem that I have. And what I found out, like, there's lots of companies, and some companies it's just a different wrapping on a thing that's BS, and then there's some companies that are actually going out their way to create meaningful use cases, and they're honest about what they are, and you're like, oh, this is definitely what I need. And I think like there's just products that are trying to cash grab, and then there's, I'm sure, products that make sense, and they're all in the same market, and people just trying to like kind of like snake oil sales you. Like,
let's just say this company had good intentions, right?
Yeah.
Let's just say that. If they did, wouldn't somebody at the company at some point just say, why? Wouldn't somebody question it and just say IDs?
What about
solved?
this scenario, Kevin? Let's say that we work at a 7-Eleven, right? And so an 18-year-old comes up and tries to buy beer. And you say, let me see your ID. And he presents you with his dad's ID or whatever.
Right.
Is the average 7-Eleven employee looking at the image to do verification or whatever? So I do see where this could be a helpful tool where they can say, let me look at your face, put your hands up, put your face to the camera, and then let me look at the ID and compare them. I don't know. I don't know if they're really
okay. Now that I could buy. I could buy a look at the. You basically stand there and you hold your ID up next to your face, and it compares and says, "Yes, you're clearly old enough," and "Yes, you are that person."
Yeah.
There's two kind of verification checks there, isn't there? It's the classic McLovin, isn't it?
Yeah. So I mean, the triangle, the triangle between your two irises and your nose point, it's kind of like unique, I guess. There's some like 6 or 7 face points. And I'm sure it looks at a lot of different ones. At least Jack Bauer does in 24.
Well, this one's not doing that, though, don't forget. This one is literally looking at your face and saying, oh, I think you're 32, therefore you're okay to go.
Right, yeah.
It's not doing any verification check against like wild. ID at all.
Literally, somebody, this is the meeting. They're like, hey, we need to hit our end of quarter quota. What can we do really quickly right now to get extra $1 million from...
So I guess there's some liability maybe for all underage purchases, and maybe
there is for the store for sure.
If you're over 21, you're not checking ID anyway, so do you care? So maybe that's what they're thinking here, is that maybe this just makes it easier to do. And you don't have to argue with the 18-year-old that's obviously 18 trying to buy beer on Friday night. Say, bro.
Well, the AI said no, so...
No, sorry, man.
I literally see
Siri said no.
So here's the thing. I've seen some 18-year-olds with like a big beard. They look like they're 40.
Right.
And I'm like, bro, get the hell out of here. You're 18. Like, it's like they look and like, and so I see it being a net positive for young kids getting wasted on the weekend, because like they're going to be like, this is like the Friday night. It's going to be a bunch of high school kids. And like, okay, how's your beard looks? Okay, that's not gray enough. All right, you need to like scruff it up a little bit. And then they go to the store. It's like, I am an old man. And the AI is like,
little bit of makeup here and there, a few wrinkles. It's not going to be any different.
I hope if anybody watches this who lives in that vicinity where they have the store, please do TikToks where you're literally going with a beard and trying to trick it and just record it. Like, because I am 100%. It's oh my God, it's be hilarious.
So I guess what I want to do is tell it that I'm under 27. That's what I want to get carded from these things anymore. That's what I want to happen.
That's the goal.
That's going to annoy people so bad.
Can I reverse
like,
it and say,
disable this?
Look at me, I'm old, but it thinks I'm 26. Thanks.
Also, like, you could randomly, like, I wonder, like, if you could do like a bait and switch, have like some elderly person behind you, just move your head really fast and like snaps his like.
Maybe you're like, excuse me, sir, could you just stand here for 1 second?
Yeah.
Look at
this
camera.
I'll give you $2. And it's just like,
check this out. Look at that thing real quick.
Yeah. Or like, can it tell like face between a picture? Like, imagine kids, they have this hoodie, when they pull it over, it's like an old man's face. Like, it's like,
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know what the process is like. Does it take just a flat photo? Because you're right. Could you stick a photo in front of it? Would it like
usually facial rec is better than that? I usually can tell, but like
maybe
who knows?
But I'm sure like the thing is like here's like where it's like they're over engineering a solution for a problem that's already solved.
Check IDs, man.
Yeah. Right. It's like
exactly.
It's but
I guess they're selling a device where the store doesn't want to have an attendant there, and so like that's the problem. But if you're going to sell these things and they're regulated by age, you're going to have an attendant.
You have to have an attendant because they've already said it's only if you're less than 27. It says I need to check. So you're legally allowed to buy it. I don't know about in Germany, but I'm guessing it's 18. I think in Germany, 18 to 27-year-olds are still allowed to buy these items.
Yeah.
What you can do is just say you can't. That's not going to work, is it? The store's going to like lose a fortune.
Well, the reason they're getting rid of these things anyway in stores is because the kids are walking in the store and just walking out with the beer and not even paying for it, much less check an ID.
Right. This is true. This is true. Yeah, just bypass this thing altogether. Who needs age verification? You just walk out.
Don't need it. I'll just walk out with it.
Who cares? What's funny, I had an experience like at an airport where I go to pay and I'm like, where's the attendant? And like, there's no attendant. It's literally...
I've been to one of these.
And that's so weird to me. I'm not saying I would steal anything, but my first thought was, I'm just going to take a bunch of stuff and leave. I didn't because I'm not the teenager anymore.
Amazon's rolled that back, though. Amazon's saying that it just doesn't work well enough for them to roll it out.
Well, Amazon, from all the people speaking, weren't they using like a whole team of folks to...
Yes, they were.
Yeah,
they were. I don't know if the airport one's the same technology. I don't know, but I saw the same thing in the airport. I don't know if it was Charlotte or Raleigh. I can't remember which one it was. I flew out of there and they have one of these things and I went to it and because I was like, oh, I'm fascinated. I want to go to the automated store. And you just put the item on a thing on like a big board and you put it down there and then you click check out and it just like knows what you got there and you check out and that's it. You could just walk out. Agreed. There was nothing I don't think there was any security other than just the fact that you're in security behind an airport and you probably wouldn't want to get arrested for stealing a Snickers from
the worst thing you could
it's
do
not
is
a good place to get arrested.
Yeah, forget it.
Okay, recommendation time then for this week. Let's start with you, Paul. What you got?
You reminded me of how awesome Kindles are. And so the other day I was looking at Amazon Kindles to buy one. And I was like, oh, it'd be so awesome to buy one. And then this is how good they are. And then I went into my bedroom and looked at the Kindle that I have. And I'm like, it still works good. And the battery lasts forever. So I didn't buy the newer one. I wanted to get like the new one, Kindle, whatever the paper white is.
Yep. This is one that I have. Sarah convinced me to buy this one, the Paperwhite signature one. Yeah. It's legit. And you're right, battery life is epic on it. It's so good. It's the king of battery.
I don't remember the last time I charged mine. Like I really don't.
So good.
Yeah. So that like if anybody's looking, I still think, and what the best thing I like about it, because I have an iPad, but the thing I like about these, you could read it in the direct sunlight, no problem. God forbid you have your iPhone on the beach or an iPad, you're not going to see anything. But these so good, the experience so nice, battery lasts forever. Yeah, because I've been back into reading books lately, so.
Plus, I tell you the other reason I like a Kindle versus the iPad too. I have the same thing as you. I have an iPad that also has a Kindle app on it, right? You can read books on them. It's a pretty decent app.
Yeah.
But the issue is, reading them in sunlight is a terrible experience. Reading them at night's good, but you can also the Kindle is backlit, so you can read it at night too, and it's a more subtle light. But I would say it's the fact that you are actively reading a book, and you don't get distracted by messages popping up. You get alerts, and you're like, oh man, that alert came up, like a news story or something, or somebody messages you. You don't get that on a Kindle. You're exclusively in your book. You're just reading the book. You're not distracted by watching a YouTube video at the same time. Like,
big
it's just
plus. Better. It is water resistant. Huge plus for me. It is really that's amazing.
That's a good one for you.
Yeah, it is. I
big plus
every,
for you
every night.
Okay, Bobby, what you got this week?
All right, so I'm on my quest to lose weight, and I've talked a lot about cycling projects. So I've done a lot of cycling. I went to my doctor, and he says I need to add weightlifting to it, which I don't want to buy weights and stuff like that. So I have some bands, and so I started trying to do bands, but it's hard to do pull exercises with bands, like a curl or a thing. So I was looking at the X3 Bar Elite, and this is the this bar that you can hook the bands to, and then you can do regular kind of like if you've done free weights or whatever with bands. And so it's all really small or whatever. So here's the thing. Here's the problem with the X3. If you notice, it's like $500.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, this thing's expensive. Well, I could afford it, but like I didn't want to. So what I really end up buying, this is where I started. And it's cool. It's probably a really cool device, whatever. But I went to Amazon and I had to go look up the name of this thing because it's like, it is J. Bryant Fitness Band.
Okay.
J. Bryant Fitness Resistant Band Exercise Bar, but J. Bryant Fitness.
Bar or band?
Bar. Yeah, it's right down there. If you go down the middle, down one second row, right in the middle there. There you go.
This one right there.
That thing right there.
$45, exactly the same thing. That's definitely for the win right there.
Yeah. So this is the one I ended up getting. I put it together. It is made of metal. It's not plastic. It does the same kind of deal. So like, the hook isn't as wide as on the X3 bar, but I'm not really lifting big wide bands anyway. So like, for me, this was the perfect bar. So like, I just need to do 6 or 7 moves 3 days a week.
Nice.
And that's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
Or I had bands, so $45 instead of $594.
You basically just went for the Chinese knockoff of the
I did.
USB.
It'll probably get banned for security reasons.
There's probably some, the amount of aluminum in that bar seems fishy to me. I don't know.
I'm going to create a product where the actual band has AI and it just doesn't, but I'm going to just say it could tell you the right amount of resistance it gives you without talking to you and just sell it for $4,000.
So this is what I'm trying. We can check in with me in a month to see if I'm actually using it. But I figure if I don't use this, it's $45 instead of $600. So
that's a big price difference.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So you saved for that's good. Nice.
Yes.
What do you get? The steroids that these guys are taking. That's what I want to know.
Well, I might be taking steroids too. So like, that's the other thing.
So this is true. So
we'll see Bobby like a couple of months. He's like huge,
swole, swole coder.
It's like, what's your not null today? Special juice. And I'll be like, sold. Where I get some.
So tech math would say that you saved how much on this then? Like a lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
100
like
something.
$500.
$500. Wow. That's nice. That's really nice. And Paul, you saved like $80 or something because you didn't buy a new one. You just bought the old, or you just had the old Kindle.
Yeah, I saved. I saved like $150, $60.
Tech math. Yeah. Tech math. You also saved a fortune.
That was amazing.
Good stuff.
That's great.
Amazing. Okay, my pick for this week, I'm going to pick a PC company. I'm going to pick NZXT. I know Bobby has an NZXT PC. I have one too. I've had mine since 2020. And the reason I'm picking this now, and I haven't picked this before, I've had it for a long time. I've had a PC. I've had it since 2020. I bought it like right in the pandemic time. So it's been coming on 4 years now. and I have not had a single issue with this PC. Which, if you've had a PC for that long, you will know. Like, PCs are just prone to having issues. I've always had issues with PCs before. I had a pre-built one from them. Their pre-built stuff's super, super good. Yes, they have everything from, this is the highest end one that you can get, but they also have mid-range, they have low-end stuff too. But you can go really like super spec'd out, with an i9 and a 4090 in it, and 128 gig of RAM. They'll actually give you, they have one option where you can put in, I want to say it's like 900 something gig of RAM in it. Like, it's ridiculous.
Runs AI workloads. Stupid.
Yeah. You can spec out, or maybe you can spec out all kinds of stuff with these. They'll do everything. They range from $800 all the way up to $5,000 if you really, really, really spec it out.
I've got the mini one. That's the one I have.
Yeah, you've got the Cube one, don't you?
The H1.
Yeah, the H1.
Really cool.
Yeah. I've got I think it's a 5 tower, but this one now is their new one. This is their I forget what they call this box, an H9 or something. But there's 2 glass-sided. This is glass on the side here, by the way.
That's cool.
Super cool stuff. Yeah, they make really good stuff, super high quality stuff. Yes, you're paying a lot of money for it. Yes, you could build your own PC. I get it. Somebody in the comments could be like, why don't you build your own PC? I've done that. I just don't feel the need to build one anymore. I'll pay somebody literally almost the same price for one of these built ones than you can buy the components for yourself these days. I'll pay a professional to build it. Like, it's just easier for me.
I can tell you that I use the NZXT water cooler in our other YouTube room, and you can put the little Coder Friendly logo on it.
Yes, yes, you can, can't you?
So you can go in here and buy all the components and put it together yourself. But
you totally can. Yeah, you totally can. But I'm just gonna, I'm just gonna pay somebody else to do it. Yeah, the Kraken coolers they have in these things is very
super cool.
Very cool. I have the last generation one of these in mind, the one that you can't change the all the fancy graphics on it. It's just the straight up basic logo on it. You can put on it to have the temperature on it. Yeah. These newer ones, very cool. They make really, really good.
You can run MP4s on them now.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's kind of stupid.
Run a video on your
but like you can. So I'm not sure why you'd want to that, but mine just does the logo.
Definitely recommend NZXT stuff. They make they do make a whole bunch of other component stuff as well. Like, their coolers are definitely good. Their cases are cool. They make other little lighting stuff as well.
Yeah, pull up the H1. That's what's sitting in my living room. That's how it dominates.
I don't think they. Oh, here you go. Yeah, this one.
That's it right there.
Yeah, the little mini tower.
I got a pre-built H1. It's been the best thing. I think we bought ours in the same year, right around COVID.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I bought mine, and I was like, "Wow, this thing's epic." And then you got the H1.
What's the biggest size graphics card will fit in there?
In the H1?
Yeah.
You can go through the rebuilder, and it'll tell you.
Yeah.
You had a. I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know what the latest one
is.
You
had a 2080 or 30.
2080, and
something like that.
Yeah, 20 series cards were definitely. I think you could fit a 30 series card in it. Maybe not a 40 series card. I'm not sure.
This is why
you certainly can in the bigger boxes though. These you fit multi-bit dual 4090s in these if you wanted to.
Jesus Christ! What's funny? My computer I have now, I had to go with an AMD graphics card because it's the only one that fit. Any of the newer NVIDIA cards wouldn't, and I like the small factor case. And I was like,
yeah, you are kind of, if you go small factor, you are kind of limited. But yeah, look, you can do vertical graphics cards on them too, because graphics cards look cooler on the top than they do on the side. Yeah, so you can vertically mount it too in these bigger cases.
Yeah, the H1
definitely recommend.
H1 is white. It sits on my living room, and I play Destiny on the big screen television with it. Really cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
I haven't had any problems with mine because I installed one app on it, which is Destiny, Steam, and Destiny.
I'm the opposite. I have all kinds of stuff on mine. I have the gaming side of it, but I also use it for work too. I run vMix on it when we do a live for Coder Foundry.
Yeah.
I run all kinds of stuff on it, and I've yet to have an issue, hardware or software. To be honest, I'm kind of surprised I haven't had software issues so far, but I haven't. Yeah. But the hardware, not had a single issue with it. It's been seamless. Definitely my next one, which maybe this year, don't know. I would definitely go back to these guys. Highly recommend. Well, that's it for this week's episode of the Not Null Podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us this far. A couple of things I can ask for you to do, if you would not mind. Leave us a review and a rating wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can also drop us an email. That is to thenotnullpodcast@aol.com. And we will see everybody next week.
In the halls of power, the gavels fall. Legislation on the wall. DJI drones once in flight now may vanish from the sight. Winds of change blowing strong, decisions right, decisions wrong. Freedom skies once open wide, now secrets and fears collide. From the fields to city lights, drones that soar to mighty heights, but whispers of a distant shore stir worries of a hidden door. Is it safety, is it fear? Losing tools that once were near. Innovation's race, caught in a bind, searching for peace of mind. Winds of change blowing strong, decisions right, decisions wrong. Freedom skies once open wide, now secrets and fears collide. So here we stand at a crossroad, pondering the heavy load, as the drones await their fate in a world of debate.